Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bard College Awards in 2024. My name is Jane Bryan. I'm the Director of Alumni Affairs. It is also my reunion, so class of 1989. And this is a wonderful event that I always wish everybody from Bard would come to, but they can watch it online, so hello out there. And this event really honors some of the greatest people that have gone to Bard over the years, and we're really excited to do that. My Master of Ceremonies and the new head of the President of the Board of Governors is my friend and colleague, Mollie Meikle from the class of 2003, and she is going to get everything going. So.
Good evening to everyone here at the Fisher Center in Annandale and those of you watching online. Welcome to the Bard College Awards. As Jane said, I'm your host, Mollie Meikle, President of the Bard College Alumni Association Board of Governors. Tonight's award ceremony is brought to you by the Alumni Association Board of Governors. The awardees are nominated and chosen by the Board of Governors Nominations Committee, co-chaired by Sonia Hood, class of 1990, and Ryan Messina, class of 2006. You'll soon hear from this year's honorees, but first I'd like to recognize and congratulate a few of our past awardees. My friend, past recipient of the Bard Medal, and former president of the Board of Governors, Arnold Davis, class of 1944, is at home watching from Westchester. So you all just did the math. He's celebrating his 80th Bard College class reunion and just turned 100. And we'll all be raising a glass, a Gibson actually, to Arnold at dinner. Richard Frank is here in the audience, class of 1974, the past recipient of the John Dewey Award, current member of the Board of Governors, is here celebrating his 50th reunion, and tomorrow will receive an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters. Congratulations, Richard. I also want to thank my fellow Board of Governors members here tonight. Please stand. I know you're there. I see you. Thank you. Thank you for your continued commitment and support for our great alma mater and our alumni and reunion classes, those ending in 4s and 9s. Where are you? I also know you're here. I've seen you. Stand up. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for coming back. You're going to have such a fun time this weekend that I'll see you next year. It's very easy for me, especially at this time of year in this place, to slip into the haze of nostalgia. Bard campus in May is the best place to be. My friends and classmates are here, once again sleeping in dorm rooms. My senior project advisor, Donna Ford Grover, class of 1980, she's here on stage with me. And my class, the class of 2003, is represented by the fabric you're sitting on right now. I'm 21 again, and tent party is a few hours away. Those were the days, but these are the times. Tomorrow, Leon will confer undergraduate BA degrees on 396 students. Clad in black robes and decorated mortarboards, these almost grads would fit in anywhere, on any campus, on any given weekend in May. Except these are Bard College students. 68 are first-generation college graduates. 12 are Afghan students who were evacuated from their home country in late 2021. 7 are part of the amazing Posse program, all from the city of Atlanta. 7 started their undergraduate degrees behind bars as students in the Bard Prison Initiative, a program now in its 24th year, founded by an alumnus of 2001. And nearly 5% started their college careers at one of 9 public Bard early colleges across the country, from the South Bronx to Washington, D.C., to right here in the Hudson Valley. But why should I sound like numbers on the front of an admissions brochure? Because it's good to be reminded of the place that brought us together, the place we studied at, the place we made lifelong friends, and the place we can always come home to. Because it's important to be reminded that Bard continues to not only believe in education for the common good, Bard College delivers it. Because will these 396 undergraduates become alumni of Bard, the college is opening its 10th early college, Bard High School, Early College, Brooklyn. The college is opening its doors even wider to students displaced by conflict. And here at home in New York State, the Higher Education Opportunity Program will increase the number of students enrolled by almost 50%. And because Bard can't do it alone. Tonight, we celebrate and honor some amazing alumni and longtime members of the Bard community. Tomorrow, we'll welcome 396 amazing individuals to our special alumni club. And probably at some point this weekend, me, Jane, Brandon, will ask you to think about your time at Bard and ask you to give. I hope you will. Enjoy tonight's program and this magical weekend. Thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing my favorite maestro and Bard College President, Leon Botstein.
Thank you, Mollie. I highly recommend nostalgia. It beats reality, especially now, and so don't resist it. And you mentioned Arnold Davis, who is past 100, and among the most memorable encounters was actually in a ceremony like this. I think Arnold got an honorary degree from the college, and or an award of some kind. I can't exactly remember. And I prepared an introduction in which I said that he graduated second in his class. It sounded very impressive. He got up and he said, "Look, I understand that you wanted to flatter me, but only 2 of us graduated." So, somebody said context is everything. I want to thank the Board of Governors for organizing this event. We have a lot of awards to give, and it's a pleasure to give them. We don't actually spend enough time observing and honoring the achievements of the people around us. And since this is not an internet-based event, there's no downside to the moment of recognition. People used to, think that being famous or recognized was a good thing. But if you ever talk to someone who is famous and recognized, it has become a disaster and an invitation for an unbelievable avalanche of nearly crackpot communications, not all of which are friendly. There's no wonder that the quality of political leadership in the country is so low. And I have to say, it's no wonder that there are so many vacancies in American college and university presidencies. Only someone totally insane would volunteer for this. But I've been doing it so long that I can't do anything else. So I'm very pleased to be here, very grateful. I want to thank members of the Board of Trustees and also members of the faculty, and also the retired faculty, many of whom I see in the audience. And I particularly want to thank Brandon Weber, who is standing in for Jim Chambers this weekend and will be presiding at commencement tomorrow as the vice chair of the board, for stepping up on short notice. As Mollie pointed out, this past year we opened one new BSEC, and we'll be opening a BSEC in Brownsville. For those of you who don't know, those are Bard High School early colleges, and that makes 10. And we are really thrilled to do so. It's one of the major contributions that we make to public policy and education. And secondary education is a field, particularly after the pandemic, that could use real fundamental reform, and we represent one of the best possible options. There's commencement tomorrow. I don't know how many of you will be there, but I can't promise you that it will be without its own theater. This has been an unequaled year, and we have done as well as we possibly can as an institution, and I want to thank all my colleagues in the faculty and administration who allowed us to get through the year without any harm coming to an individual, without too much upset and damage, and without real interruption to the informality and conviviality and warmth of the place, especially for those of us who live on campus. So it's a teaching experience, and my colleagues who sat with protesters really engaged in some of the most important teaching, which I hope will leave a lasting imprint, possibly a more lasting imprint than what we try to do in the classroom. We underestimate, especially in a residential college, how important the non-academic aspects of life are. And I tell parents they shouldn't worry if the kids aren't working and fall behind, because wasting time is an opportunity for contemplation and introspection. Universities and colleges are not places of efficiency, they're places of inefficiency. And it is a luxury that when you graduate from college, you suddenly lose. They know that when they cross the platform tomorrow. And so it's not bad to be nostalgic, and I hope that all of you come to commencement and enjoy it. I don't know whether they are here, but I think several of our honorary degree recipients sometimes come to this event. I don't know whether she is here, but our commencement speaker, Naomi Oreskes, if she's here. It's great to have a scholar and scientist as a commencement speaker and not a comedian. And you heard already that Richard Frank, class of 74, will be getting an honor degree tomorrow, and he's here. Is he here? And the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And as many of you may know, Bard is proud to be the only American college and university with a long-lasting and serious collaboration dual degree program, a little campus in a major Palestinian university, Al-Quds on the West Bank, a program called Al-Quds Bard, now I think entering its 16th year, with whom we just signed today a memorandum to start a Bard High School early college on the Abu Dis campus, which will be, we hope, accessible by the residents of East Jerusalem. And we are extremely proud to receive an honorary degree, the wonderful president, my colleague, Dr. Imad Abu-Kishek. So I think we're going to go on to the award ceremony, and I again congratulate all the recipients and thank all the participants in this ceremony, and I'll turn this over to Brandon.
Well, it's a real pleasure and honor to be able to represent the Board of Trustees at this event. Jim is very sad he's not here. This is Jim's event. Seeing Jim around here is one of my annual pleasures, and it's sad we don't have him. He'll be back eventually, and he sends his regrets and his congratulations to all the awardees tonight. So we're feeling you, Jim, and we're trying to channel you. But I cannot fill Jim's shoes, so I will not try. For me, this is a special night. It's one of my favorite events. It's underrated. It's a celebration of Bard legends, and for me, Bard Legends is one of the driving forces of excitement when I come back to these events. So, and we've had the opportunity, a lot of us, to learn from these Bard Legends over the years. You probably even taught them a few things. I'm also a member of the Alumni Board of Governors, and I'm still learning from Paul and Frank. So I really appreciate the opportunity to continue circling amongst those legends. And of course, the legends don't come from nowhere. They come from the faculty, they come from the staff who run this institution and provide the scaffolding. Tom Wolfe was my first-year seminar professor. Surely he does not know that, but I remember distinctly, and I remember feeling that I was in the presence of a legend even then. And today is a great opportunity to honor him. So I'm excited to kick it back over to Mollie and to get started with the awards. So thank you very much.
So the presentations of awards will now begin, and the full citations are all in your programs tonight, and also they contain more information about this year's award recipients. I now call upon Charles S. Johnson III, class of 1970 and member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Bruce Chilton, class of 1971, and Bernard Iddings Bell Professor of Philosophy and Religion and Director of the Institute of Advanced Theology, to come forward with the recipient of the Bard Medal.
I have the honor of introducing the Right Reverend Andrew M.L. Dici, who will receive the Bard Medal, the Bard College Alumni Association's highest award.
So we honor you, Reverend Andrew M.L. Dici, with the Bard Medal, Bard's highest recognition for service to the college. In your more than a decade tenure as Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New York, which includes the Bard campus, you have been a compassionate and courageous pastor. You have led with faith so that the tough issues of our times can be resolved through dialogue. You laid the foundation for the church in the 21st century and addressed the traumas and trials your flock has confronted. At the same time, you have been an inspiring supporter and advocate of Bard's mission.
I am deeply grateful and find myself profoundly moved to receive this medal and this honor. Among the affiliations which came to me as Bishop of New York, my relationship with Bard College, which began with a relationship with Leon, our president, is one which I have counted as most significant and most gratifying. The relationship between the Episcopal Diocese of New York and Bard College is as old as the foundation of this school, and it has been my joy as bishop to sustain, strengthen, and deepen that relationship in partnership with Leon and with the remarkable board on which I serve. I am filled with joy to receive this medal, but also with the humility of one who is confident that I don't deserve it. I am 3.5 months into my retirement as the 16th Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New York. At my retirement, I had completed 4 decades as a priest, the last 12 years as bishop. Ordained ministry is a profoundly odd life, countercultural and counterintuitive. It is an unusual choice, subject to misunderstandings and crazy assumptions, and the life is challenging in unusual ways. A member of my cathedral congregation asked me before my retirement what I was going to do next. And I said that I was going to spend the next chapter of my life trying to figure out what this long middle chapter had been all about. But there were moments that gleamed through the mystery, and they come back to me now as signs intimating a deeper meaning there to be discovered. When I was a new bishop, I made a visitation to St. John's Church on Staten Island. It was a regular Sunday service, but they had 3 young boys. One of them was 11 and 2 were 8, who needed to be baptized. Somehow that had never happened earlier, so it fell to me now. Before the service, I sat with them and we talked about what was going to happen and why it mattered. They were so excited. That in itself was the rarity. But they were so excited and they were so interested. So when we were in church and I was asking them the questions of baptism, do you renounce Satan and all the spiritual forces of wickedness that rebel against God? Do you renounce all evil desires which draw you from the love of God? They practically leapt from the floor when they shouted their responses. I renounce them. I renounce them. So after the water baptism, I came to them with the holy oil to anoint their heads, and one of the boys asked me why I was doing that. So I explained that from the beginning of time, the way that we signify the holiness of things and people has been to pour sacred oil upon them. It is how we consecrate altars. It is how we sanctify churches and temples. It is how we crown kings. And I said that I was going to anoint them now because you are kings. And they jumped off the floor again. I told that story not long ago at one of several retirement events, and shortly afterward, a woman from that church sent me a 12-year-old copy of their parish newspaper, and there was a picture of me and the 3 boys in the church, right at the moment when we were having that exchange, the vessel of oil in my hands and their 3 interested, curious, wondering faces. I love that picture, one of the best things I was given. That picture invokes for me, I think, the thing that drew me into ministry at the beginning and has sustained me all these years and kept the work always fresh and lively. And that is my belief that what we are about is midwifing the integrity and holiness of an individual person within a community of character. Everything we do before the eyes of God. Or if for some of you that is too theistic, then before the eyes of history, or before the eyes of our ancestors, the eyes of the generations, or before the eyes of one another, or before the eyes that look back at us from the mirror. The question is always the same. Who are you? What matters to you? To what will you commit yourself and your life? Commit in full. Commit to the end. And to what will you be held accountable? These are the most important questions that can come to any person. Tomorrow at commencement, all of this will be made manifest in the newest graduates of Bard College. Integrity and holiness. They will come before us, and we will see in them the fullest, most brilliant upwelling of the glory of God. Then we will see the possibilities of a human life, and we will be glad. I have found all of those virtues and principles embodied in the Board of Trustees of this college. I have found the same passions, the same curiosity, the same integrity. And that has made serving with these wonderful, remarkable people my joy. And that makes this award so meaningful and fills my heart. To all of them, I pledge myself, but most especially to Leon, my brother, my teacher, my mentor, and by the grace of God, my friend. With all my heart, I thank you for this.
I now call upon Roland Augustine, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Lauren Cornell, Director of the Graduate Program, CCS, and Chief Curator of the Hessel Museum of Art, to come forward with the recipient of the Bard Medal.
I have the honor of introducing Sandy Zane, class of 1980, who will receive the Bard Medal, the Bard College Alumni Association's highest award.
I'm going to read for you.
Okay.
We honor you, Sandy Zane, class of 1980, with the Bard Medal, Bard's highest recognition for service to the college, for your dedication to making art more attainable, unintimidating, and intimately experienced for all. We honor you for your philanthropic efforts, particularly your investments in the humanities and education. We thank you for welcoming so many Bardians to your adopted home in Santa Fe, and we are grateful for your support of your alma mater. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who is here tonight or watching this ceremony online. I am unable really to follow the speech we just heard. That was so inspiring. So I will just say thank you and sit down.
I now call upon Stanley Reichel, class of 1965, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and David Lindholm, Director of Athletics and Recreation, to bring forward the recipient of the John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science.
The John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science is given to honor a scientist whose achievements demonstrate the breadth of concern and depth of commitment that characterized the pioneer physicians for whom the award is named. I am honored to announce that the 2024 recipient is Daniel Fulham O'Neill from the class of 1979.
We honor you, Daniel Fulham O'Neill, class of 1979, for your distinguished career as a physician and a leader in the medical science of sports. As an orthopedic surgeon, you have helped untold patients recover from injuries. In your writing, you have analyzed the wellness crisis affecting young people. Your work has illuminated the path forward for children and teens to have healthy and active lives. You have combined service with science and have remained for 45 years a loyal alumnus of Bard.
I have a pen right here. To paraphrase Leon from some 50 years ago, college should not be the best 4 years of your life, but it should be the most dynamic. Here at Bard, I explored multiple career paths. I learned that to like being outside was not enough to qualify me as an environmental studies major. This was solidified when I had to take off my sneakers before wading into South Bay with Eric Kiviat so I could feel for snapping turtles. It turns out I'm much better with other people's blood than my own. Under the merciful guidance of Professor Hilton Weiss, I left the woods for the lab, though still not without struggle. Hilton asked me on my crite sheet if he had to organize my love life so I'd start doing some organic chem. He did. That said, I was allowed to moderate in chemistry with the caveat that I must begin smoothing my many rough edges, which in those days meant taking drama dance. After a summer internship where my exploration of the chemical mechanism of vitamin C lost out to the exploration of dye bars in Cambridge and a Yankee comeback from 14 games out, it seemed a Nobel Prize in chemistry was not in my future. Hilton saw me through my senior project, but soon put me in the hands of the Annandale medical spirits, the aforementioned Doctors John and Samuel Bard, and of course, Dr. Wu. Now, being the worst kind of Irishman, a Kerryman, I'm used to living with ghosts. I am descended, perhaps circuitously, from Hugh O'Neill, the last almost King of Ireland, and more recently from Nurse Patricia Fulham O'Neill, formerly of Lenox Hill Hospital. Samuel Bard, no stranger to ghosts himself, quoted Cicero in his address to the first graduating class at Columbia's medical school. Quote, "There is nothing by which a man approaches nearer to the perfections of the deity than by restoring the sick to the enjoyment of health." In my own school of medicine at Stony Brook, I was again placed in the hands of the living, if you don't include our cadaver. There I had motivating classmates and an outstanding anatomy professor, Jack Stern. Jack felt my physical hyperactivity might be best served in the operating room. When I appreciated that orthopedic sports medicine surgery produced the fewest ghosts, I was in. Samuel Bard said, "Do not therefore imagine that from this time your studies are to cease, unless your whole lives are one continued series of application and improvement, you fall short of your duty." Years later, my improvement consisted of exploring the body-mind connection of sports psychology with another brilliant mentor, Len Zakowski at BU. That said, ghosts, deities, and perfection are not a big part of medicine and science. My education, starting here at Bard, prepared me to be a blue-collar doctor who showed up for work every day and you were to remember your failures more than any successes. Samuel Bard said, "In the profession where the object is of so great importance as the life of a man, you are accountable even for errors of ignorance unless you have embraced every opportunity of obtaining knowledge." There was no reason to believe when I first walked onto this campus that I would be standing here some 50 years later with my name alongside others who have been given this award. For reasons still unclear, Bard, as well as people alive and dead, showed faith in me that was supported by scant evidence. While I am tempted to quote Lou Gehrig, I will only say thank you, Bard College, for this honor, and for pointing me in the direction of a truly dynamic life.
I now call upon James H. Ottaway, Jr., a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Simon Gluhuli, Associate Professor of Political Studies, to bring forward the recipient of the John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science.
The John and Samuel Bard Award in Medicine and Science is given to honor a scientist whose achievements demonstrate the breadth of concern and depth of commitment that characterized the pioneer physicians for whom the award is named. I'm honored to announce that the 2024 recipient is Andrew Zwicker from the class of 1986.
We honor you, Andrew Zwicker, class of 1986, at a time when evidence-based decision-making and politics seem to be moving further apart than ever. You give us hope for the renewal of a democratic polity rooted in reason and understanding. As a scientist, educator, and the first physicist to be elected to the New Jersey legislature, you embody the breadth of concern and depth of commitment to the public welfare this award recognizes. You embody the high civic and intellectual ideals of your alma mater.
Could you imagine if politics was actually based on evidence? Wouldn't that be a nice country to live in? Thank you, James. Thank you, Simon. Like the people who have come before me, I'm deeply honored and moved to be here at Bard with such wonderful, wonderful recipients. I've been fortunate. I've been surrounded by spectacular teachers my entire life, starting with my mother, Bryna, who was for decades a high school English teacher, and then when she retired, taught English as a second language at the public library in Englewood, New Jersey. And in the audience tonight over here is my wife, Barbara, who has spent a couple of decades as an elementary school educator, who, we always say, I get them when they're older, she gets them when they're younger, molding young people's lives. And to be clear, none of which I'm so deeply honored to be receiving this honor, but none of this happens without my wife Barbara, who has been my fiercest supporter, my most honest critic, and my partner every step of the way on this journey, this adventure, this life that I've been on. Thank you, Barbara, for that. I'm sure if you ask any alumni in this auditorium to name an influential teacher at any point in their studies, from a little kid on up through their graduate studies, I bet you they would name a Bard College professor. In my case, receiving this recognition this year is particularly poignant to me because last October we lost one of the great Bard faculty members in the history of this institution, physics professor Bert Brody, who was so much more to me than just my physics teacher. Bert was everything you would want in a faculty member here, and by extension, what you want for a Bard student. He was endlessly curious, always enthusiastic. He was incredibly smart but modest, and always open to learning something new, whether that was in physics or in any other subject. When I was a student here at Bard, I didn't understand the depth of his influence on me. I couldn't understand it back then. I couldn't understand that we weren't just building a microcomputer, fixing an ultraviolet laser, or studying optical spectroscopy. He was helping me unlock my own curiosity, my own enthusiasm, my own willingness to explore the world outside of my comfort zone. So after I graduated, and now it's 38 years later, I moved to Baltimore to start a PhD program at Johns Hopkins, where none of the other students there had come from a small liberal arts college. And that first year was not easy. In fact, I failed what is called the classical mechanics preliminary exam. It's an examination, you had to take 4 of them, and this one was in classical mechanics, and it was studying my depth of knowledge of undergraduate classical mechanics. Now, at the same time, I was also taking the graduate level course, and in that one I got a B+. But why did I fail the undergraduate one? Well, because I had never taken undergraduate physics because it conflicted with a philosophy course that I desperately wanted to take. And only at Bard College would your physics mentor say, take the philosophy course, don't worry about it. But I'll be honest, back then, failing that course was difficult. I felt like an imposter. I felt angry about the fact that I was struggling. But what happened? I had had this amazing, amazing liberal arts education. And so I just put my nose down and I started studying. I passed every exam after that. And in fact, of the 27 people entered the class, I was the second to graduate. And this is not about a race to graduate. It's not about a competition. But what it is about is critical thinking. It is about the ability to be independent, to be a critical thinker, to be an independent critical thinker that is at the heart of what this institution, what this college is. So I want to say thank you to Bert in particular for what he did for me all those years ago. And then after graduate school, I traveled the world. I do research in fusion energy source of the future, always has been. Some people say always will be. Some of you got that joke. But I was, again, trying to figure out what I was doing, looking for that purpose. And the person who hired me at Princeton was the deputy director, a guy named Rush Holt, who went on to become Congressman Rush Holt, second physicist ever elected to the United States Congress. And so I knew that as I channeled my own Bert, as I channeled my own Andrew, I channeled my own Bard College, when there was an opportunity to become that physicist that entered into politics, I had no choice. I had to do it. My first campaign slogan was, vote for me, I can't be any worse. But let me just spend one quick moment getting to something that Leon alluded to. I'm going to put on my state senate hat. Because we do live in an unprecedented time when the value of higher education is being questioned, when the very purpose of a liberal arts education is under attack, and when funding for public education is shrinking around the country. To think critically, to study topics broadly, to be endlessly curious, and to take risk in order to make the world a better place are the ideals and principles that have always been the foundation of Bard College. And one of the most important today, it is more important today than ever it has been. So let me leave you with a quote. When I was here at Bard, I read a book that some of you may know, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. I did not like it the first time I read it. I didn't understand it. But I've reread that book over and over and over again. And Pirsig wrote in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance this: you look at where you're going and where you are, and it never makes sense. But then you look back at where you've been, and a pattern seems to emerge. I hope each of you see a pattern in your own lives, because I certainly see one in mine. Thank you again to Bert. Thank you to Leon, and thank you, Bard College.
I now call upon Juliet Morrison, class of 2003, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and David Shine, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dean of Studies, and William Lensing, Senior Lecturer in the Humanities, to present tonight's recipient of the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters.
I have the honor of introducing Adam Conover from the class of 2004, who will receive the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters, given in recognition of significant contributions to the American artistic or literary heritage.
We honor you, Adam Conover, class of 2004. Using wit and eloquence, you have spoken truth to power. In your work, you champion the downtrodden. You challenge us to think more clearly. Your values, nurtured in part at Bard, shaped your comedy so that laughter may teach us wisdom. Science becomes entertaining, and critical inquiry can debunk popular prejudices. Most of all, you entertain us at your and our own expense, as you help us become smarter and better citizens.
I think Leon was right. It is better to have a scholar speak than a comedian. I think he learned that last night because I was asked to speak at baccalaureate, and after I used 8 curse words in a 5-minute speech in front of the reverends, I think everyone might have reconsidered. I meant no disrespect, sir, and I hope you realize that coming from a comedian, disrespect is how we pay respect, because I care so much about this place, and I am so honored to receive this. Actually, I didn't want to be a comedian. I wanted to be a scholar. I studied philosophy here. I wanted to go to grad school and become a philosopher and do all that. And, nobody said you should. My advisor was like, you could. I had trouble doing the readings. I really cared about the material. I couldn't make it all the way through Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. I got a third of the way through. I did okay. I understood what I read, but I went into comedy instead, and I realized that when I did, I remember thinking that, I can do the same things in comedy that I could in philosophy, that they're similar in many ways, that, comedy is also about the endless questioning about what you think you know, the rigorous elimination of hypocrisy and sloppy thinking in the pursuit of truth, the quest to make sense of a world and a life that often seems senseless. And, people have said about me as a comedian that I'm uncynical, I'm positive, I actually give a shit about things, which not a lot of comedians do. And I think that's because I come from an uncynical place. That Bard is the last completely uncynical place that I've ever been. Every time I come back here, I am so struck by how much every single person here actually cares about what they say they care about. And that is so vanishingly rare in our society. It is so vanishingly rare to have the opportunity to have an education like this, where not only did I get to explore all of those things, but also I wouldn't even have a comedy career if every single person behind the scenes, without me even realizing it at the time at Bard, hadn't helped me along the way. and you know, let us stay in the computer lab to edit our comedy sketches until 2 a.m., or let us have the run of the multi-purpose room, it was this place made me in ways that I'm still only beginning to understand. And so few people in our society have the opportunity to get an education like this. I'm very aware that I'm so fortunate to have received it. And you know, there are two ways to think about, I think, a benefit like this that one receives that not everyone else gets to experience. And I think of it as the difference between a public bus and a first-class seat on a plane. I love riding in both. But when I'm on a public bus, I think, my God, I wish we had more equitable access to public transportation in America, and we could do it, right, if we actually put the money behind it. A first-class seat, by its very nature, not everyone gets to have, because the first-class seat is only nice because everyone else in the back is squeezed, right? And when we're sitting in that first-class seat, we're taking something away from the people behind us. And it is my fervent hope and belief that an education like I received is something that we can bring to everybody, and that I didn't only get to experience because someone else got less. And it's been part of my mission in life ever since I attended this institution to make sure that it was not a first-class seat, that it was a public amenity that we can extend to as many people as possible. And one of the reasons I'm proudest of this college is because I see the people here work every day to make that true as well. And that is why this means so much to me, and thank you all so much.
I now call upon Joe Francis Mayer, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Julia Rosenbaum, Associate Professor of Art History and Visual Culture, to present tonight's recipient of the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters.
I have the honor of introducing James Fuentes from the class of 1998, who will receive the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters, given in recognition of significant contributions to the American artistic or literary heritage.
We honor you, James Fuentes, class of 1998, for the leap of faith you took just months after graduation when you opened your first gallery to represent artists you admire who were being overlooked. 25 years later, you continue to showcase artists beyond the commercial market, staying true to your vision and fighting for underserved voices and perspectives that enrich our lives. For you, art is not commerce, but a sacred, universal gift that can better all of our lives.
I'm very grateful to be here and to accept the Charles Flint Kellogg Award in Arts and Letters. I was very fortunate to find Bard at a young age, at a time in my life when I did not feel seen or understood. At Bard, I found my people. I truly believe that if educational leaders studied and learned from the formula, the magic formula that Leon Botstein has created for such a unique social and educational experience, the world would be a better place. After graduation, I was oblivious to the harsh realities of trying to find my way in the arts. In hindsight, I see that having a certain level of blind faith is a requirement to carving out space for yourself in the field of contemporary art, which is elusive and embedded with unspoken rules, codes, and hierarchies. I remember a conversation with a friend from Bard and saying, I don't know if I have it in me to be in the art game. I hated the idea of having to ingratiate myself, and I felt overwhelmed by it. My friend said, James, you don't have to do that. You already have a community. Work with what you've got. Start by working with your peers and your teachers from Bard. Among those friends and teachers were artists such as Peggy Awesh, who's here, Barbara S., who's no longer with us, Amy Silman, Stephen Shore, and Tom Wolfe, tonight's recipient of the Bardian Award. Please. And I'd like to make a special remark about my most important advocate, Lithuanian filmmaker Adolfas Mikas. Adolfas was the co-founder of the Bard Film Department who, along with his brother, Jonas Mikas, survived forced labor and displaced persons camps in Germany during and after the Second World War. Adolfas looked out for me. I am eternally grateful for whatever it is that he saw in me. He was deeply committed to this place and remains a true legend in our community. I will go pay him a visit as he's resting at the Bard College Cemetery. I can't really say much more because the wonderful life I've had in the 26 years since I graduated Bard feels, in reflection, like a dream. I wouldn't know where to start. The best thing to ever happen to me since then was meeting my wife, Brandy Jones, who's sitting here with our kids, Gareth and Bea. We are not only together in our life journey, but we are also often on the same road in the professional one. I'm happy that my friend Dan Dioka is sitting with my family. On the first day of school, Dan and I walked up to each other and pretty much said, "You look cool, let's hang out, let's be friends." And we have been friends ever since. If only life were that easy all the time. I want to thank my parents, Jaime and Blanca Fuentes, for investing in my education, my mother-in-law, Jackie Jones, for being a true rock in our family. I would like to express eternal thanks to Brandy Jones, my wife, Gareth Jones, my son, and Beatrix Fuentes, my daughter, for teaching me more about life, the world, and myself than I ever thought possible. Without getting into too much detail, at the tail end of my time here, there was a moment where it wasn't clear if I would actually graduate. I'm happy to talk about that after the... I had a heart-to-heart with Stephen Shore, who looked me in the eye and effectively told me, "You have one more chance, James. Don't fuck this up." I said, "I won't, Stephen, and I hope with this award I have fulfilled this promise. Thank you."
I now call upon Elizabeth Eli, class of 1965 and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Donna Ford Grover, class of 1980 and visiting associate professor of literature and American studies, to bring forward the John Dewey Award for distinguished public service.
I have the honor of introducing Aaron J. Law, class of 1993, who will receive the John Dewey Award for Distinguished Public Service, which was established in 1990 to recognize extraordinary contributions by Bard alumni and others to the public sector or in the public interest.
We honor you, Aaron J. Law, the class of 1993, for bringing legal representation to those who do not have the means to pay for the protection offered by the law. We honor you for co-founding the student organization BRAVE, which offers Bard students free sexual assault crisis counseling and related services, for serving with Teach for America for 3 years in rural Louisiana, for creating Morgan Stanley's pro bono program, and for your own philanthropic work with asylum seekers. Your tireless efforts to secure free legal assistance for many of the Afghan students made it possible for Bard to accept them after the August 2021 withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan.
Thank you. I am so honored and humbled to receive this award from Bard, a place that is so dear to me, especially alongside my amazing and lovely classmate, Paul Thompson. Just one statistic I'd like to share. Over 90% of legal problems faced by low-income Americans, just Americans, receive no legal help or not enough legal help. Over 90%. That's family law, immigration, estate planning, health care, civil rights, voting, which is more important than ever. And I am so thankful for Bard for instilling in me the braveness to pursue at personal and sometimes professional risk ways to create positive change in the private sector. For example, I created the pro bono program and lead the pro bono program at Morgan Stanley. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. Our incredible and talented lawyers have helped thousands of clients in those 10 years. It is so rewarding to be recognized for public service in the private sector. Bard also taught me the importance of relationships, building and maintaining them. So thank you, Oliver, Donna, Deirdre, Jerry Kelly. I have my own, you're almost out of here, Aaron, story for everyone who knows Jerry Kelly, or who he was, the director of financial aid. My dear friends Noah, Robert, and Stefan, who are here tonight. Thank you so much to my family, whom I cherish. This is for my dear friend and Bard classmate and BSEC Queens family member, Renee Plummer. Thank you.
I now call upon Leon Botstein, Bard College President and member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Stephen Tremaine, class of 2007, and Vice President for Network Education, to bring forward the John Dewey Award for Distinguished Public Service.
I have the honor of introducing Paul Jonathan Thompson, class of 1993, who will receive the John Dewey Award for Distinguished Public Service, which was established in 1990 to recognize extraordinary contributions by Bard alumni and others to the public sector or in the public interest.
We honor you, Paul J. Thompson, class of 1993, for a distinguished career in which you have made the arts a force for advancing democracy, strengthening public education, and making our public schools a place for self-discovery, ambition, and affirmation. You have shown the crucial connection between a more socially just and an artistically engaged democracy. You are an inspirational school leader, classroom teacher, musician, and public advocate for justice in education.
So somehow I missed the memo that I was going to have to follow the Right Reverend, a politician, and a comedian. What I will say is Bard is a very, very unique place. When I landed here, at only a place like this can someone buy a trumpet in a pawn shop in Kingston during L&T and 3 years later ask Leon if he would play my orchestra piece so that I could properly learn theory. He did not flinch. That's not normal. But Bard is a special place like that. For me, it was a very safe place. I came here looking to answer some questions about myself, come to terms with who I thought I was and who I wanted to be, and Bard provided me the atmosphere and the space and the safety to be able to do that. In the work that I've done in education, primarily more than anything, the theme that really runs through it is me wanting to provide safe spaces for young folks who really don't have the kind of opportunities my parents were able to provide for me. And so at our schools, the thing that we always try to do is make sure that the arts are the vehicle through which students can express their voice, make community, make safe space, so that they can do the difficult things which the students that I was serving, the difficult things are learning, admitting, and then learning how to read at 15 and 16 years old. That can only happen in a safe space, and the arts enable us to do that. And all the work that I'm doing now as the executive director for the Arts Office for the Department of Education is, again, trying to create safe space for students to be able to use their voice, which is the most powerful thing they have in coming to terms with themselves and navigating the dominant culture that we live in. So I am just so thankful for this experience, this honor. I want to thank the board. I want to thank the faculty. I want to thank the alumni who are honoring me with this. I also just want to make sure I honor my family. I love this place so much. I've raised y'all here, really. I've kind of never really left. So I thank you for just standing next to me while I do this work. And more than anything, if you know my wife, you know none of what I've been able to do or accomplish in education would have happened without Saskia. So Saskia, I love you. Thank you so much for everything that you do for me and our family. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, everyone.
I now call upon Hillary Pennington, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Ben Coonley, Master of Fine Arts, Class of 2003, an Associate Professor of Film and Electronic Arts, to bring forward the recipients of the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service.
I have the honor of introducing Adam Khalil, class of 2011, who will represent himself and his brother, Zach Khalil, class of 2014, who will each receive the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service, given in recognition of the extraordinary and selfless work of members of the Bard community on behalf of the well-being of individuals threatened by injustice, violence, and tyranny.
We honor you, Adam Khalil, class of 2011, and Zach Khalil, class of 2014, for more than a decade of astounding creativity. Your film and artwork illuminate a path toward a future free from oppression and subordination. You remind us that art at its best is a vital force for transforming lives and advancing real material progress, especially for the least privileged and least well-served in our midst.
Hi. Ani Bojo, Shingwak Indijna Kaz, Bawating and Donjiba. My name's Adam Khalil. I'm a filmmaker and artist from what's currently called Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, but is originally called Bawating. Just want to acknowledge that my brother can't be here today, and that also me and my brother work collaboratively, and obviously I've known him for a really long time. We have similar life experiences, and anyways, but we also collaborate with many other people in a variety of ways in artistic and activist forms. Chimagwech for this award. Thank you for this award and an acknowledgement. Bard has created a deep network of relationality, friendship, and family that has shaped both me and my brother as artists and human beings. The privilege of being a mentor and a mentee continues to sustain our practice, but although these terms don't quite suffice, so we've coined the term friend-tor, which is friend meets mentor, to describe the tone these relationships strike. I've been extremely fortunate to have had the continuing guidance, critical engagement, good times, and friendship with professors and students here, including Peggy Awash and Keith Sanborn, who are here, Les Levesque, Daniela Dooling, Jackie Goss, Jeffrey Gibson, Ben Coonley, Barbara S., Kristen Lucas, Carolyn Lazard, Bailey Schweitzer, Dia Vij, Sam Richardson, and many, many more. These friend-towards generosity and insights has left permanent impressions on how we see the world and in the process, and how we process what we've created, And in the process, we've created deep familial connections and relationships. And I think that's just something I want to emphasize, is that this is very unique because it does really feel like family. And I'm just very thankful for that and for this institution being able to foster relationships like that. I also want to acknowledge and say Chimagwech to the legacy of Zach and I's mother, Allison Krebs, who was a fearless lifelong learner, who shaped many generations of young people in our tribe's community through her work with education in our community. She was also a poet and created a space of understanding that art and activism are inextricably tied and urgent. Her memory and legacy lives on with us, and I can feel her presence in this room right now. I also want to acknowledge my Uncle Chris and Aunt Karen, who are here as well and have always been there for us, and my dear wife, Maria, who's also sometimes collaborator as well, and just love you guys. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the radical and necessary changes at this institution over the past few years in terms of embracing Indigenous academics, artists, and activists. The founding of the Center for Indigenous Studies, the work of Rethinking Places project at Bard, the collaborations between Forge Project, CCS, and the Hessel Museum, culminating in the groundbreaking exhibition Indian Theater last year, have created an environment where Indigenous futures can be imagined here at Bard. For that, Chimagwech. As we look towards the possibility to create deeper links and reciprocal relationality between institution and the Stockbridge-Munsee community, the original inhabitants of this land who have been displaced over 1,000 miles away in Wisconsin, I just wanted to pose a possible solution to that would be to create in participating pathways towards giving land back and facilitating the right of return for the Stockbridge-Muncie community. Chimagwech, thanks so much. Bye.
I now call upon Juliet Morrison, class of 2003, and a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Melanie Nicholson, professor of Spanish, to bring forward the recipient of the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service.
I have the honor of introducing Golden McCarthy, class of 2005, who will receive the Laszlo Z. Beto Award for Humanitarian Service, given in recognition of the extraordinary and selfless work of members of the Bard community on behalf of the well-being of individuals threatened by injustice, violence, and tyranny.
That was so awkward. No. Yeah, mine. No. I was welcoming you, but oh my God. All right, very Bard moment. We honor you, Golden McCarthy, class of 2005, for your devotion to the public good, notably through your work on behalf of adults and children in immigration detention. You have served with distinction as Deputy Director of the Florence Immigrant and Refugee Rights Project. We honor your commitment to volunteer work, civic engagement, and access to citizenship. You help those who are among the most vulnerable and stigmatized in American society.
Thank you so much. My heart is so full right now, and hearing everybody's speeches is just so lovely. I am so honored actually to be accompanied by my professor, that I had so many opportunities within and outside her classroom that truly has laid the foundation and informed my work even today. So thank you, Professor Nicholson, and thank you, Bard College.
I now call upon Kimberly Marteau Emerson, a member of the Bard College Board of Trustees, and Dina Mengetsu, the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Professor of the Humanities and Director, Written Arts Program, to present the recipient of the Mary McCarthy Award.
I have the honor of introducing Karen Russell, who will receive the Mary McCarthy Award, given in recognition of engagement in the public sphere by an intellectual, artist, or writer.
We honor you, Karen Russell, for challenging the boundaries of language and imagination in your fiction. Using fantastical storytelling, you illuminate deep human truth. You open worlds of infinite possibility. Hope is a constant negotiation with an unknowable future. Your writing gives us hope for a more humane, just, abundant, and loving future.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Leon, to the trustees, to Janet and Anne-Marie, to my dear friend, Dinao, who is one of the people I truly love and admire and one of our greatest writers. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's so good to be back. I should thank my husband and children who are watching from home. Oscar and Ada, I love you. And I'm also grateful for this award, I mean, for so many reasons, but one is I think maybe it will credential me to my children, who seem skeptical that writing down lies is a job one can have, or taking dictation from ghosts. You know, they're not sure that I have a job. I'm so honored to receive the Mary McCarthy Award, and I'm just truly happy to return to Bard. When I found out I'd be receiving this, I felt the same astonishment and joy that I felt in 2011 when I got to be Leon's neighbor as the Bard Fiction Prize winner, which is the dreamiest honor and means that you get this spacious, green time to sort of wander and also live on campus, so literally wander, which was such a pleasure to do here. I learned a really valuable skill, which I'm sure many of you also acquired at Bard, which is how to become the paleontologist of your own motor vehicle in the winter months, and just spent a lot of time hacking my Toyota out of the ice. And I was really moved to learn that Mary McCarthy began and ended her incredible career teaching here, because I've also been supported by Bard from the very beginning. Some of you might know the legendary editor Bradford Morrow, who founded Conjunctions, which has been published by Bard for 40 years, over 40 years now. And it's this gorgeous, like, mutant menagerie of fiction and poetry and other stranger, newborn, unnamed forms. And it was fun to reflect on the patterns that reveal themselves in midlife, because I think almost 20 years ago to the day, they took a story of mine, Conjunctions did. And it's just beautiful to have a relationship that scaffolds one entire career. And I hope that, like Mary McCarthy, my relationship to Bard will, be lifelong. But what I remember the very best about my time here were the friendships I made with this incredible density of idiosyncratic and brilliant students and faculty. And that gift of time to follow the gleam of my imagination wherever it might lead. Mary McCarthy, describing her work as a fiction writer, once famously said, "What I really do is take real plums and put them in an imaginary cake." Fiction is always an encounter with reality and possibility. The imagination is often dismissed as the wall-eyed cousin of the intellect. But what greater magic do we possess than this capacity to see around, behind, beyond the present, to conjure hypotheticals, alternative worlds? Memory is also the work of the imagination, and so is envisioning a future. What if is one of our most powerfully subversive questions, and we are all speculative fiction writers together when we ask it. If someone tells you he is going to make a realistic decision, Mary McCarthy wrote, you immediately understand that he is resolved to do something bad. 1 trillion so-called realistic decisions have brought us to this precipice in 2024, where it can feel only reasonable to many people to accept and expect the most dire outcomes, ecological and societal collapse. Be reasonable is a chilling mandate to me because it is so rarely a genuine appeal to reason. In practice, it's deployed as a hedge against disruption, a cudgel to push people back into benumbed resignation to the world as it is, to business as usual. Capitulation is often presented to us as the only realistic decision, and we are told repeatedly that we must accept the terms and conditions of our profoundly unjust world. And it's exactly this kind of dangerous salesmanship for the status quo that Mary McCarthy exposed and resisted in her writing and in her living. The stories I love to read and try to write act as a balm against such false, despairing realism. Nobody at Bard or at Conjunctions ever suggested to me that I should get real or be reasonable on or off the page. To the contrary, for 20 years now, Bard and Conjunctions have given me wings and skies. Thank you all for reminding me that many worlds are possible. I look forward to asking what if with you and sharing what we learn and remember. Thanks, guys.
We now turn to the presentation of Bardian Awards, which are a formalization of the Bard College Alumni Association's tradition of honoring longtime members of the Bard community. Tonight, we have the pleasure of honoring 4 such colleagues with this award. I now call upon Leon Botstein, President of the College, and Brandon Weber, Class of 1997, and Vice Chair and Alumni Trustee of the College, as we present the Bardian Awards. I also have the pleasure of calling upon Cecile E. Kuznets, the Patricia Ross Weiss, Class of 52, Chair in Jewish History and Culture and Coordinator of Jewish Studies, to join us at the podium with the first of tonight's Bardian Award recipients.
I have the honor of introducing Myra Beth Young Armstead, who will receive the Bardian Award.
So these final awards are for retirements. She doesn't know this yet. She's not totally retiring, but we'll talk about that later. And they get a chair, not this chair. They get a big one. And on it is an inscription. And in your case, it says, "Brilliant wit will shine, come from whence it will." Maria W. Stewart, 1834.
That's great.
So here, this is it, and you get the little chair.
We thank you, Myra B. Young Armstead, for nearly 40 years of tireless and superb work as a teacher and colleague. You've immeasurably enriched the college and our students. You've balanced commitments to research, teaching, mentoring, and a pluralistic community here at Bard and throughout the Hudson Valley. You've made Bard more welcoming to a wider range of students and scholarly pursuits. Through your writing, you have given us a fuller understanding of our history and our own relationship to both neighbors and strangers.
Well, I'm finally here, ending a first career. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a storyteller, and in the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking, and so many stories have been crowding my mind from my memory of nearly 40 years here. But I'm just going to reference 4 that occurred, or they took place within the first, I would say, couple of months of my being at Bard. And you know how memory is, or hindsight is perfect, and you see clarity. You see more clearly when you look backwards. Historians know that. That's why we're historians. But these stories, I think, were so telling of what I was going to encounter at Bard. I didn't really know the liberal arts college animal at all. I was educated at an R1 place and went to grad school at one, and that's where I thought I'd go. I interviewed at Bard because my advisor said, you don't know if you want to teach, so why don't you go to a place where you really have to teach? And I came. It was a very pretty place, but it was so different and so strange that I never imagined that I could last more than 2 years. So let me tell you about what I encountered. When I was picked up at the train station, I was expecting, for my job interview, I was expecting one of those people that you see in the airports with a card, right? And that's what I had been experiencing as I had gone out looking for jobs. But instead, there was this kid who looked like a holdover from 1969, Haight-Ashbury, who met me, and he drove me the 45 minutes from Poughkeepsie up to Bard. And he did not stop talking for 45 minutes. And it was all about his poetry. And I just didn't know what I was getting into. And his thing called the Senior Project. And he wanted to explain this. And he told me how he went down to the river to get his cadence. And I thought, oh my God, what's next? When we got to the dean's office, he took the keys and threw them across the desk and said, "Here, Stewart, here she is." Well, it's a long story. I took the job, but I remember that the department was very small, and there were 3 other faculty members in the history program. And one of them, I think, is still here, Mark Lytle, said to me, called me maybe 2 weeks before I got here, and he said, is there anything I can do to help you? I didn't really know how to answer him. I was still wondering what I had gotten myself into. But he said to me, well, this is a byword. This will help you acclimate. Everything at Bard is kind of loose. I didn't know what that meant. When I interviewed, John Fout, the chair of the department, proudly waved a syllabus in front of me. And he said, you see, this is just monographs. These are just monographs. We don't use textbooks here. Alice Stroop, in the first couple of weeks that I was here, took me aside and said, you know, you've got, what is it, six preparations, 6 new preparations for courses, new courses. I was a brand new faculty member. And she said, what do you really care about? What do you want to teach? So collecting all those stories, I realized that I was really being introduced to some of the finest qualities of Bard, the students, their passion. I certainly didn't have the same kind of experience as an undergrad. And the way in which they pulled on you, their brightness, their eagerness, their curiosity, their expectation that you as a faculty member would really care about them. And I would say that the thing about Bard that was most surprising to me was the mutuality of learning. And that is something that I will miss in the classroom, how much I was enriched by the students. And then just what my peers were telling me, that we stand for here the highest level of scholarship. I have always appreciated the faculty, no matter what the college lacked, and we know what those things are. The quality of the faculty was really a powerful incubator for me, and I have always appreciated that, and that has not abated. It is only, I wouldn't even say improved, it has been a constant. So I'm very grateful for the years that I've had here, and I'm very much looking forward to a second career. And that is more in public history. Many of the recipients here have talked about the need for real engagement in the civic sphere, that we as scholars need to be connected with the broader public. This is a time that really needs our input, and I'm really excited about many projects that are very varied in which I've been engaged. So I do thank God. I thank God for the years that I've been here, and the wonderful students, and the wonderful faculty, and the wonderful support staff that is now here and wasn't when I first got here. Thank you.
I now call upon Susan Aberth, the Edith C. Blum Professor of Art History, who is accepting the Bardian Award for Patricia Eichenbaum-Koreski, our next Bardian Award recipient. We thank you, Patricia Eichenbaum-Koreski, for introducing countless Bard students to Asian art for 3.5 decades. You've been a patient and insightful advisor on senior projects. You've been a lifeline and advocate to many students, particularly those coming to Bard from China. Your scholarship, generosity, and work ethic have enriched the college by creating a new field in our curriculum.
So on Patricia Koreski's chair will be written, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." That's Musashi Miyamoto.
I have the honor of receiving the Bardian Award for Patricia Eichenbaum-Koreski, who really regrets that she couldn't be here today for health reasons. She wanted you all to know that she loved teaching here every minute for the entire 31 plus years she was here, and we in the art history program will deeply miss her. Thank you.
I now call upon Yuval Emelich, Associate Professor of Sociology, Research Associate at Levy Economics Institute, to announce our next Bardian Award recipient.
I have the honor of introducing Joel Perlman, who will receive the Bardian Award.
We thank you, Joel Perlman, for your dedication over the past 30 years to research, teaching, writing, and advising at the Levy Economics Institute and in the undergraduate programs of Historical Studies, Sociology, Jewish Studies, and Middle Eastern Studies. With dogged determination, you helped create these last two areas of the curriculum. We take pride in your outstanding achievement as a scholar of demography and immigration. Your writings help counter the myths about immigration that plague our nation's polities.
So I have a confession to make that Joel is my oldest friend, certainly in this auditorium. We were first-year graduate students together, and I see Rivka here, and it was a pleasure to have him as a colleague for as many years as it was a reality. And I have to say, who chose this thing on your chair is a Talmudic genius, because I don't understand it. And it has no author. But you have to ask Yuval. It says, "Dissent pure and simple is crucial."
So I had prepared minimal things to say, always avoiding saying that Leon knew me before I came here. Since he began with that, I'll just say when I asked him, how is this position going to work exactly, and how are people going to react to your setting up such a position? And he said, it'll be good for the college, it'll be good for you, it'll be good for scholarship. Why shouldn't I do it if I can? I would just say one other thing, that listening to Myra talking about what it was like to encounter the first people she did encounter here, I had the advantage of encountering her. I just want to say a long delayed thank you to Leon for thinking that he could create this position for me, and thank you to Dimitri Papadimitriou, who from that time to this has been the director of the leader of the Levy Economics Institute. Thank you.
I now call upon Alex Kitnick, Assistant Professor of Art History and Visual Culture, Faculty, Center for Cultural Studies, to join me in presenting the next recipient of the Bardian Award.
I have the honor of introducing Tom Wolfe, who will receive the Bardian Award.
We thank you, Tom Wolfe, for decades of groundbreaking scholarship, exemplary exhibitions, and engaging classroom teaching. You've shaped the art history program at Bard for more than 50 years. This has made you a legendary figure as a teacher, scholar, and painter, prized by students and colleagues alike. The excellence of your work mirrors the care and attention you give to everything you do.
So this says, seen any good shows lately?
All right, thank you very much. I'll say a few words. I think when I retired in December, I was the most senior member of the faculty, and probably, most likely, one of the only, if not the only one, who was here before Leon Botstein. So I have seen the amazing transformation that Bard College has undergone under his leadership and been the beneficiary of it, for which I'm always been grateful. When my graduate school fellow student Eunice Lipton said to me, "I'm leaving my teaching job, teaching art history at Bard College, because I've been hired away by Hunter. Would you like to take my job?" I said, "What's Bard College?" Which I don't think would be the case anymore today, because it's undergone such a tremendous transformation. One of the ways I think is very significant that the school has changed and evolved. When I was hired, art history was part of the studio art program, and there were 6 tenured studio art faculty members, all male, and they had one more position that they couldn't tenure because you can't have the entire department tenured. So that was the rotating woman's position, for which they hired a series of female artists, including Elizabeth Murray, Louise Fishman, Nancy Kitnick, Jenny Snyder, and I think, well, a few more. Jenny Snyder, Nancy Mitchnick, Jane Kaufman, Louise Fishman, and Elizabeth Murray, all of whom I was friendly with, especially Jane Kaufman, who was a good friend of mine. Years later, one of the systems at Bard is you're evaluated every 2 years until you get tenure, and after you get tenure, you're evaluated every 7 years or so, and that evaluation they collect data about your performance and your publications and things, and then it culminates in a meeting with the dean of the college, the chair of the division you're in, and the chair of your program, which in my case, the last time it happened to me, it took place in the president's office, and I met with Susan Aberth, the chair of art history, the dean, Rebecca Thomas, and Maria Simpson, who was chair of the arts division. And I said 20 years ago, I would have never been in this room with 3 women, to which I was rewarded with 3 big grins, which was very nice. And my position at Bard, and in the early days when I started teaching here, one of the relatively few women on the faculty was my colleague, friend, mentor, and supporter, Jean French, who taught, medieval and Renaissance, and I did modern, which was from 18th and 19th century to contemporary. And we together were pretty much the art history program for about 20 years when it started growing. Today, I think there are 9 faculty members of the art history program. After about 10 years or more, we were joined for a while by Hugo Munsterberg, who had retired as chair of the art history department at SUNY New Paltz, and who was a specialist in Asian art, which he had written about more than 20 books about. And he found a grant for senior faculty members to teach individual classes at colleges. So he joined us and became the professor who offered a class in Asian art every semester, which we were very grateful for. And then after several years, he retired and set up a fund to perpetuate his position. He put money in the bank, the interest of which would pay for another continuing Asian art history class every semester. And for that, I recommended my fellow graduate student at the Institute of Fine Arts, Patricia Koretsky, who is also retiring now and who you just heard about a minute ago. Unfortunately, she can't be here with us today. I emailed her and I said, how long did you teach at Bard? And she said 36 years, and I loved every one of them. So I'm sorry she can't be here, but she definitely made a great contribution. In my peculiar position, I've always been part-time by choice. When I had an opportunity to increase my time, I didn't go for it because I came from California to live in the New York art world, and that's what I continued to do, but teaching here part-time. And then when I got tenure in 1985, I had what I felt a blessed situation, of which combined both security and freedom, because I had a guaranteed job, but also a 2/3 time as opposed to full time. I tried to pay my dues by being part of the community, organizing exhibitions on campus and serving on many committees, which is part of the duty of a faculty member at Bard, which I tried to fulfill because I felt very grateful for my position. So among other things, I think I'm the only part-time person who ever served 5 consecutive years on the faculty senate, which was an interesting experience, and again, part of paying back in a way. And to conclude, I'll say that my position was, most of the time, there's some variation, most of the time I taught a lecture class in art history and a seminar in art history every semester. And my normal setup, which was not unusual, was at the lecture class there'd be a midterm exam and a midterm paper and a final exam and a final paper. And in the seminars there'd be a midterm presentation by each student and a final presentation, and also a midterm paper and a final paper. And I did the math, and by my calculations, I have read, commented on, and graded well over 10,000 student papers in my career here. And I'm part-time, so think of what my full-time colleagues are doing. So I'm very happy for the opportunity I've had to teach here, and I want to thank Bard College, my colleagues, the students who are often inspiring, and many times I have lasting relationships with, and my family. So thank you very much.
We're almost there. But before we go, I'd like to say a special thank you to the Office of Development and Alumni Affairs. This doesn't happen without them, so thank you. You'll see them around this weekend. You'll see a lot of staff around this weekend. Please say thank you. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back this weekend. I'm serious. I expect to see you next year. And maybe I'll see you at dinner. If you are joining us for dinner, you can make your way next door to the Luma lobby. And then tonight you can come back. Everyone is cordially invited to the commencement concert right here in the Sosnoff Theater at 9:30. And that's it. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you.